It has been a crazy 24 hours. I really wanted to enter the Archibald Prize this year. So when I began thinking about who I could paint, I thought of Vera Blue. And so I reached out to her manager and they got back to me yesterday and said that she's keen to do it. So I'm just about to go pick her up. I'm so excited, you guys. This has all happened so fast, and setting up the studio for some of my classic fabric reference image shots. Watch any one of my videos, I think you should make it this one. I evolved massively throughout the painting of this artwork, and I was a completely different person by the end of it. I can genuinely say that this artwork was nearly the end of my art career. It was an emotional process, and I think throughout this process I really did question my own abilities and if I even want this sort of life. And I think by the end of it, I really realized that I can't do anything else, and this is the life that I want. And I was able to come through this portrait and resolve it, and I was really happy with the end product. So it is a good story now that I'm through the other end. I painted this portrait of Vera Blue over about 8 months, and I can definitely say that this was a groundbreaking portrait for me, and the finished product was definitely worth it. If you don't already know me, my name is Carly Renee. I started my art career about 6 years ago with charcoal drawings, and over the last year I have developed my skills and made the leap into oil painting. I painted this portrait for the biggest portrait prize in Australia, which is the Archibald Prize, and I thought it would be a good exercise for me to start submitting an oil painting to the prize every year. And let me tell you, this was the best exercise that I have ever done. I was forced to paint to a whole new level, and it really made me think about my work from a third person point of view, which can be so hard to do when you're so deep into the creation of your own work. When I first made the transition into oil painting, I started creating these monochromatic artworks in just burnt umber paint. And this artwork was originally meant to be one of those artworks, which you'll see this artwork go through that phase. But throughout the process of completing it, I realized with the help of my mentor that it really needed to be a color portrait. So I painted in color for the first time ever, which is insane. Teaching yourself how to paint is one thing, and then painting skin tone and color is just a whole nother level, and it was so challenging. I completed this artwork back in April, but I have been really taking my time putting this video together, partly because I was putting off going through 8 months of footage. 8 months of footage is an insane amount of painting videos. I had like 2 or 3 times the amount of footage that I normally have for an artwork. But secondly, I really wanted to sit with what I had went through. I was really struggling to get through parts of this painting as I was still wrapping my head around how paint even works. I truly can't even begin to tell you how many emotions were attached to painting something like this. The transition from drawing to painting is still quite challenging at times. I keep bringing in elements of drawing into my painting, so I'm still using like erasers, and sometimes I'll use like a pencil. If I can't get into a really small area, I've usually just sharpen a pencil that is the same color as this and just try and draw it in. I still feel so out of my depth with a paintbrush at times because it's just so much less control, and I really just miss the simplicity of a pencil. But I feel like I am combining drawing and painting in this technique. Generally speaking, there is like a beginning phase of an artwork which is really fun and you've got the motivation, and it somehow becomes really challenging and you start making mistakes, and then overcoming those challenges and resolving the artwork is what makes this process so magical. And the most important thing about the portrait is her eyes and her face, and making sure that it has a real likeness and a real life to it, so it feels like she's in the room with you. Oh my gosh, color is so hard. I don't know what I'm doing. I did a quick sketch the other day just to try and really familiarize myself with her features, really try and translate her essence into the piece, because so often with my normal paintings I just use the photo references as like a loose reference and then it ends up looking kind of like someone else, but I generally love that. But if it's for a portrait of someone and you want it to look like them, it really has to translate and really carry their likeness. This is the first color study that I did and I ended up rubbing it out. It's so bad. Please don't look at that. So I'm starting fresh today. I did a new sketch. So this is the base outline and then I'm going to go in with some different colors. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. So I've probably done about 15 to 20 studies of Vera's face, just repeatedly doing the same thing over and over, and I can really feel my progress through each study. I can feel it kind of progressing and getting better each time. It feels really good to be able to feel like I'm moving forward and getting better. I'm really nervous about taking it to the real thing and ruining it, but the time is coming. I think we've got just under 2 months before we have to send it off, and mine is still unstretched. I have to get it professionally stretched and then I have to get it couriered down to Sydney. I really hope that this is inspiring for you to start wherever you're at and just aim to get better with every portrait. I am going to take everything that I've learnt over the last 16 studies or whatever it was, and I'm going to put it into the real artwork, which is massive and very daunting. I wanted to leave it like this. This was yesterday's study and that study over there is from today. This will be like that. And then this is going to be black, her dress. So anything where there's skin or body or anatomy, those are the areas that will draw your eye straight away, and those parts have to be like perfect. I feel kind of sick thinking about it, but what's that saying that if your dreams don't make you feel sick, then your dreams aren't big enough? I feel sick. After I did make the decision to paint it in color, I honestly just felt so sick with the weight of having to pull this off, because I felt like I had done such a good job with the painting so far, and I was just so worried that I was going to lose everything I had done up until that point. And yeah, like when you don't know what you're doing, you don't want to like throw away everything you've already done. I look back on this painting and I think about how proud I am that I pushed through, but looking back on the process of painting this artwork, I was not enjoying the process. I was so stressed about doing this properly and doing justice to this painting because, you know, she had taken time out of her busy schedule to come and meet with me, and I didn't end up getting into the Archibald Prize, but I felt like I had a real opportunity because they choose different artworks every year and they choose a lot of artists that aren't that established, and so it just depends on what they're looking for that year. But I felt the pressure to create something truly incredible, and I felt like I had a real opportunity to do something amazing. So I just wanted to do a good job pretty much and make the most of it, but I felt at times that I was just completely out of my depth, and teaching yourself to paint is it's so hard, and figuring out color theory and mixing skin tone and like doing it in a way that is your own style is probably not best to do this for a big prize, but I learn a lot when I throw myself into the deep end. So, and I truly feel like this artwork is going to be a big part of my story because I really went to some new places in the creation of this artwork, and if someone wanted to buy it, I think I would sell it, but I think this is the sort of artwork that I will gladly keep in my home and display it proudly for the rest of my life, because this was a real turning point in my own journey and in my own skills, but it's the personal significance to my own journey. And having a reminder like this in your home to push through, because I've pushed through before, and so I can do it again. So I love having that sort of reminder to really acknowledge how far I've come and that I can keep pushing forward. And I think in the past I have been really self-critical, but this year I'm really working on being kind to myself. And I think in being kinder to myself, I am so much kinder to other people, which is so interesting. And I think I have so much more patience for other people when I'm more patient with myself. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. I'm just comparing myself to what I've done so far. I've gone through some pretty bad phases of creating things that I am not very proud of. So when you come through that and you start creating things that you actually like, it's such an amazing feeling. And I feel like I have to share that with you, because when you haven't created anything that you're proud of and you don't know what it feels like to be on the other side of that, then you don't really think to put yourself out of your comfort zone. But yeah, I just wanted to encourage you to do something outside of your comfort zone, because you'll probably enjoy it. I've been looking at a canvas for way too long today, so I'm going to go to the beach for a quick swim and a big long walk because I'm feeling really stiff. Paint on my elbow is a new installment in my life. There's paint on everything. Let's go to the beach. So close to being finished on this artwork. It's raining outside, which I love, but it's also kind of hard to talk over, so sorry if you can't really hear me that well, but doing this artwork has really tested my own sense of perseverance and continuing to create these artworks. Throughout this process, I had so much adrenaline because I didn't want to ruin what I had already done. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was like mixing the colors, just feeling like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know if this looks right, and I would be like putting just the smallest amounts of paint on to her face and not knowing if that's how it's supposed to look or if that's right or wrong. And eventually I got the feel of it, and completing all of those studies really cemented the technique, I feel, and really helped me to develop the concept of painting. Some artworks just don't work in monochrome. And I'm going to show you all of those studies that I did, and it's going to make you feel so much better about yourself as an artist, because these studies, some of them are horrific. I have loved Vera Blue's music for such a long time. I really loved some of her songs, especially in my early 20s, and she's been such a huge inspiration for me. And when I heard that she was in my area for a music festival, I reached out to her management and they put me in touch with her, and she ended up coming over to my studio, and I shot a series of images, and then from about 200 photos, I chose this image that I'm referencing. I think this image held something really special in her stance and in her gaze. As I got to know her a little bit before we shot some images, she had this real sense of strength and power, and I could just sense that she's a really genuine and beautiful person. And I felt like all of that came through in her gaze and in her body language. And so when we started shooting, she has this really long red hair, and she really uses her hair when she's on stage. So I knew that I wanted to showcase that in some way. And I was getting her to flick her hair up and out, and there was a few really great shots with her hair in motion. And I kind of like, looking back, I wish I chose one of those ones to paint because it was sort of different and interesting. But I ended up choosing this one, which I love this one. Her arm holding up the drapery and then the drapery sweeping across her body. The lines in the composition of this portrait I felt were so interesting because there was those through lines of the drapery and like the diagonal lines going from each corner. And then her arm and her gaze was just so captivating. I really felt like this was a really strong reference image to use. So I am really happy that we went with this one. Anyway, Angus ended up winning People's Choice for the 2024 Archibald Prize. I'm so happy for him. It's such an incredible award to win. And our friend Laura Jones won first place. She won the whole thing with her portrait of Tim Winton, which was also incredible. So we are very happy for Laura and we love her painting. Bye, Vera. Vera's rolled up. What?
Which I do to make myself useful. Today is the 10th of April. The other reason is just pure procrastination. The artist's friend.
The artist's way. Say hi.
Hello. Thank you so much, guys.
We have Roberto.
Beautiful. Wow,
That was such a fun day.
Dreams are possible, guys. Just follow your dream.
I won a competition with all of these canvases. Can you believe it? I'm in shock. Study in pencil, which is where I'm comfortable. Then I went home and did another study. I actually couldn't bear to look at it, so I rubbed it out. Her skin was really grey. I started to figure out how to do the whites recipe for a great skin tone. Slowly getting better. The proportions got knocked out a little bit, like the chin is a little bit too big. Through this process, I was doing this every day. So I just forced myself to do an hour study every day just to flesh it out and pretty much just to prove Angus wrong and say, look, I can't do it. But by the end of this process, I ended up being able to do it. So again, I mean, I'm just sort of, I guess they're getting better each time. I was kind of scared to use paint. You can still see the canvas underneath here. I feel like I went back a bit with this study, but the idea of this exercise was to just do one study every day. This, I'm actually getting better with my transition tones here and using warms in between the light and the dark. Not great. We're on a journey. And then I sort of turned a corner and was able to produce these two studies. Create a new recipe for skin toned. Every time I would mix up my paint, I would swatch it on this canvas. That way I could kind of see how it looked next to this color palette that I've already got. I think one of the hardest things I've realized about painting is that a color can look completely different on the palette than it does when you put it on your painting, when it's sitting in contrast to all the other colors that you've already got going on and the color that you need versus what you've mixed. It has been so shocking to me to see something that I mix up and it looks like the perfect shade on the palette, and then you bring it onto the canvas and it's the wrong shade, wrong temperature. So that's something I'm really trying to figure out at the moment. I'm getting a lot better at it now. I was taking this portrait into my mentor to show him, and so I'd write all the notes down and recipes for the colors that I'm trying to mix.
Yeah. I just got the artwork back off the courier, and yeah, I'm happy to have it back in my studio, and I think I will cherish this piece forever. So I'm very happy that I did it. I just want to thank you guys for coming along this journey with me. I really appreciate you. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can see future videos from me, and make sure you leave me a comment. I love you guys so much. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon.